Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to start talking about stress because I believe that stress, it exists, it's inevitable, but at the same time, we don't have to be overwhelmed by it. Being overwhelmed by stress is optional. So today I wanted to talk about how to build resistance to stress, how to increase your capacity to handle it, and how to move from reacting to responding so that stress no longer runs the show. I'll share some of my own experiences, plus some practical ways that you can shift your mindset and regulate your emotions in high pressure situations. So I want to start with a story. And today's episode was motivated by a text message that I received from my husband. It said, "You need to call the guy." And what he was talking about was the heating guy. And I just want to tell you why this text message was so symbolic and how my reaction to it showed and illustrates how much power you have within yourself. So let me back up a little bit first. We bought a house 10 months ago, and there is central air and central heating. And we've had a lot of issues with the heat and the air con since we arrived. So first of all, the system is extremely complicated because we have 2 floors and it's 2 different systems. And the first gentleman that came to help us kind of figure things out passed away, God bless his soul, soon after. And so we really didn't have anyone to help us with the heat. So I had to find somebody. That took a while. Once I found someone, he was really good, but he hadn't installed our system. And so it was actually quite complicated for him. And so over the past 10 months, we have had the system leak. We have not been able to find some of the pipes and some of the plumbing. He has had to replace things and there have been missing parts. He has had to turn off the heat and we've had to heat with the fireplace. We've had other times where it is so hot in the dead of winter, I've had to open the doors. And I've also had astronomical heating bills. And so this week, actually, he was here for 6 hours on Monday, like doing the final touches. Really, everything was supposed to be perfect. He was supposed to leave, and it's not. And so when my husband sent me that text this morning saying, "You need to call the guy," I was immediately triggered. But I was only triggered for 1 second. And that is the absolute power of learning to manage your stress. This situation has been going on for 10 months. It has been very trying on my nerves. It has been taxing. The heating guy has probably been here 10 times at least. It's just been a big thing to deal with. And the reason I talk about this today is because I've managed it with flying colors. And that's what I want to teach today, because it is 100% possible to have situations like this, either things that you think are going to work and don't, financial things, the bill that we received, very bad surprise, but I've managed it. Triggering text from my husband, I've managed it. And I want to talk to you today about how I have done that, because there are so many simple things that you can do. The first absolutely important thing when it comes to stress management is a healthy lifestyle and prevention. It is the foundation for how well you will manage stress. And this is also one of the things that I discuss with all of my coaching clients is, what are they doing to take care of themselves? And this for me is a basic. If you want to be able to handle stress, you have to give your body and your mind the right conditions to do that. It's like an athlete training for a marathon. You can't just show up on race day hoping for the best. You have to prepare in advance. And for me, the same thing applies to stress. So for me, there are 4 non-negotiables. And I'm sure you've heard this, so I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but sleep. Your brain needs downtime. It needs to rest and recover, because when you are not fully rested, you have a much higher sensitivity to stress. You're much more irritable. And I find those are the worst moments, or those are the moments where we make the worst decisions. So if you are running on fumes, you're more likely to snap at the little things and get sidetracked by things that aren't important. Secondly, hydration. It sounds simple, but your dehydration, if you are dehydrated, that increases your cortisol levels. So your stress hormones. So water is fuel, and most of us don't drink enough of it. Third foundation is exercise, any kind of movement, whether that's walking, yoga, dancing, weightlifting, but doing something that is helping your body is extremely important. It just will help you rest and recover. And finally, daylight, fresh air always help. So those are just the basics of setting a foundation for you to manage stress more proactively. The second thing I want to go into is managing our thoughts around stress, because things are going to happen, and it's how you think about them and how you react to them that are going to serve you or not. So, what are stressors? Yes, people, situations, unexpected emails, comments, text messages, those are things that trigger us. But the truth is, it's not the event itself that stresses us out. It's what we make it mean. It's our thoughts about the event. So, have you ever received a vague email, or a vague text? We'll talk about a text from your boss that says, "Can we talk?" That is probably one of the most stressful messages that you can receive. Suddenly, you're maybe sweating a little bit, your heart rate is maybe spiking, and your mind jumps to the worst case scenario. What did I do? Am I in trouble? I'm going to get fired. But maybe something really simple. Just, I don't know, maybe he just wants to change a meeting or ask your opinion about something. But our mind immediately goes to the worst case scenario. So pause before reacting. Give your brain time to choose to respond instead of defaulting to reacting. Because then often we just make the situation even worse. Remind yourself, you can't change what other people say or do, but you can change how you think about it and how much power you give to it. And the other suggestion I have is asking yourself, if a stressful situation happens, how could the situation be helping me grow as a person? And in the case of our heating issue, I now know how the house works. I know pretty much how to solve almost any heating issue. It has taught me a lot about being able to solve a problem on my own. So here, the biggest mindset shift that you can make is realizing that the stress isn't caused by an event. It is caused by how you interpret the event, and consciously deciding how to handle that event or that circumstance is your superpower. With the heating guy, I have my way of managing it. My husband would manage it differently, and no one is right or wrong. It is up to you to choose your reaction. And just so you know, I didn't call the guy and I didn't get mad at my husband. I chose to manage it differently. And the final, I would say, element that is so powerful when it comes to managing stress. Okay, we've laid the foundations. We know that our mindset comes into play, but it's also regulating your emotions so that stress doesn't consume you. And this is where we move from reacting to responding, from stress controlling you to you taking control. And it's one of the biggest skills that I work on with my clients is that emotional regulation. So how do you do that? The first thing is recognizing an emotion. Stress is just an emotion and is caused by something. And so just recognizing the emotion, name it to tame it. Okay, I'm feeling stress. I'm feeling anger. I'm feeling frustration. I'm feeling annoyance. Whatever that emotion is, simply identifying it gives you more control over it because it's also sending a signal to your brain, okay, something is happening. The second thing when it comes to emotional regulation is breathing. When you start breathing, you're sending all of this oxygen into your system and to your brain, and it activates the parasympathetic nervous system and signals to your body to calm down. And what I teach my clients is we have something called a PQ rep. PQ stands for Positive Intelligent Quotient, and they are mini meditations. And just to give you an example, it's learning to focus your attention on one of your senses. So breathing is a perfect example, but there are others. You could actually focus your sight on something for 10 seconds. You could focus listening on 10 seconds. The breathing does the same thing. We're focusing on a physical sensation to take the brain out of reaction mode. And doing that regularly, it's just a question also of mental fitness. Over time, you learn to calm your brain down. Reframe the situation. Is this really a crisis or is it just a challenge? Will it really matter a month from now? Like that text I received from my husband, will it really matter? No, it absolutely won't. And adopt what I call an ease and flow mindset. Not every challenge needs to feel like a battle. A lot of times we're causing our own stress because we're resisting it. And the more we resist it, the worse it feels. What if instead you just name it and you approached it with curiosity and flexibility? For me, the heating guy will come when he can. And in the meantime, I'm sitting here with the heat on and the windows open. So the goal isn't to eliminate stress. That is impossible. The goal is to change your relationship with it. When you learn to think about it differently, regulate your emotions, you stop letting stress dictate your day. Nothing stresses me out now because I just look at situations as a learning experience, and it's the same thing at work. I've had really stressful situations at work, all at the same time. Pressure to hit sales targets, my star performer leaving my team, budget cuts, a client who's upset, a colleague who doesn't agree with you, working in an international environment. So there's all these cultural differences that you can't, fully understand. Maybe there's restructuring. That is the new normal. And I guarantee you that when you learn to navigate that new normal, the stress will melt away. But you have to consciously choose how you want to react and respond. So, in summary, stress is part of life. It is not going away, but how you handle it is absolutely within your control. So start by strengthening your foundation, sleep, movement, water, daylight, then manage your thoughts around it, challenge those stories that you're telling yourself, and finally, find a solution to regulate your emotions so that you can respond with intention instead of reaction. And I would like to encourage you to think of a stressful situation that you managed over the past week. What is one thing, now that you've listened to this podcast episode, what is one thing you could have done differently to make it feel more manageable? What one thing would you like to take away from today's episode and implement? Because those small shifts add up over time, and it becomes easier and easier to manage stressful situations. I am so glad you were here this week. I hope this resonated, and I can't wait to see you soon. Talk to you soon.